Hi everyone, welcome to week 5, pre-algebra. We're going to be talking about perimeter and area of certain shapes. So we're going to split it up over 2 weeks. This week is going to be focusing on squares, rectangles, triangles, parallelograms, and trapezoids. So take a moment, pause the video if you need to, and fill out the definition for the perimeter, the height, the base, and the area. So the perimeter is the distance around a two-dimensional shape. So you're going to sum, or in other words, add up all of the different sides. The height is the distance from the bottom to the top of the figure, and you want to look for a right angle when you're trying to look for the height. Okay, you're looking for that 90-degree box. The base is the distance between the bottom of the figure, and the area is the number of square units we can fit on the inside. So let's start with perimeter. Perimeter of a square would be the side measure. Since there's 4 different side measures, you would do 4 times the number of sides, so 4s. And then the perimeter of a rectangle, since there are 2 lengths, it would be 2 times the length, plus, since there's 2 widths, it would be 2 times the width. All right, or you could just add up all the sides. That's another option. All right, area formula. So the area formula of a square would be your side measures squares, so side times side. Whereas the area formula of a rectangle would be length times width, or sometimes you see base times height. Area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. Don't forget about the 1/2 because a triangle is half of a rectangle. All right, let's look at the next problem. So I know this is a square, and the reason why I know this is a square is all the side measures are the same. See how they all have those markings? So they're all technically 5.1, 5.1, and so on. So you would label this as my S. 5.1 is my side measure. So to find the perimeter, I would do 4 times S. So 4 times 5.1. So go on my calculator, do 4 times 5.1, and it gives me 20.4 km. Whereas area is side squared, so that's 5.1 squared. So 5.1 squared, or 5.1 times 5.1, gives me the area of 26.01 km squared. Make sure area has the squared in its exponent. All right, the next one is a triangle. So for a triangle, to find the perimeter, I'm going to add up all the sides. So 7 plus 9 plus 13. Go into my calculator, 7 plus 9 plus 13 gives me 29. So the perimeter is 29 inches. Whereas the area is 1/2 the base times the height. Now the important part is your base and your height are always going to make that 90-degree angle. So look at that box. That box will tell you where your height is and your base is. So that's 1/2 times 7 times 9. So you can use 1/2 or 0.5 in your calculator. You're going to get the same answer either way, and that's going to be 31.5 inches squared. Next one's a rectangle, so the perimeter is 2 times, I'll actually use a different color, the perimeter is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, so I'll call this my length, this my width, so that's going to give me 2 times 2 plus 2 times 5.5. So 2 times 2 is 4, 5.5 times 2 is going to give me 11, 4 plus 11 is 15 meters. And then area is length times width. So my length is 2, my width is 5.5. So 2 times 5.5 gives me the area of 11 meters squared. Looking at the next one, I have another triangle. So to find my perimeter, I'm going to add up all of the sides. So if I go through 5's the side measure right here, plus 11 plus 15. So those are my side measures. So my perimeter is 5 plus 11 plus 15. I can go to my calculator and add those up. It's going to give me 31. So 31 meters for my perimeter. And then for my area is 1/2 base times height. Remember, look for the 90 degrees. That's going to tell you what your base is. Your base is 11 and your height is 2. So it's 1/2 times 11 times 2, which is going to give me an area of 11 meters squared. All right, looking at the next one, I have another triangle, so I'm going to go through and add up all of the sides. So I'm not going to go interior and use the 5. I'm only going to use the 9, the 11, and the 12 for the perimeter. So add 9 plus 11 plus 12, and I can go through my calculator to do that. It's going to give me 32. So my perimeter is 32 feet. Area is 1/2 base times height. So remember, you're looking for that 90 degrees. That tells you your base and your height. So my height is 5 and my base is 12. 1/2 base times height, which is 1/2 12 times 5. So my area is going to be 0.5 times 12 times 5, which is 30. 30 feet squared. Then we have another rectangle. So for this rectangle, so 7 and 3. So if you want to find the perimeter, you can just add up 3 plus 3 plus 7 plus 7. You'll get the same answer, and you'll get 20 feet. Or you could do 2 times 7 plus 2 times 3, and you'll get the same answer. And then the area is length times width, or base times height, which is 3 times 7, which is 21 feet squared. Hopefully that was a good review for you. Next one here is a parallelogram. So a parallelogram, remember, has opposite sides parallel. So to find the area of a parallelogram is the exact same way you'd find the area of a rectangle. You would do length times width, or base times height, where B is your base and H is your height. All right, so base times height. Remember, you're looking for the 90 degrees, so the height has to be perpendicular to the base. So look for the 90 degrees. That'll tell you what is your base and what's your height and what you should be multiplying together. So if I come over here to my first example, so first thing is my base and my height. I see this 90 degrees. So that's got to be my height, and this is my base. Well, I don't have a measurement for that, but I do know that opposite sides are equal to each other in a parallelogram. So my area is base times height, which is 7.2 times 2.9. 7.2 times 2.9 in my calculator is going to give me the area of 20.88 feet squared. Okay, next one, I see my 90 degrees. So if I want to find the area, that's the base, and this is the height. So I'm not using the 11.5. So my area is going to be 9 times 15. So my area is going to be 135 millimeters squared. Next one, it says the height is 12. So height is 12. The base is 2/3 of the height. So that's 2/3 of is multiply, so multiply times the height. So if I do 2ABC3 times 12, my base is 8. So I've got these two measurements of 12 and 8. So to find the area, I'm going to do base times height, which is 8 times 12. 8 times 12 gives me the area of 96. So 96 inches squared. Trapezoid. Now trapezoid is the longest out of all of our formulas. So trapezoid, the area is the amount that's inside of it. It's 1/2 times the height times the sum of the bases. Okay, so we're going to fill that in. 1/2 times the height, and then you have to add the two bases together. So the 1 and 2 aren't exponents. They're just saying base 1 and base 2. Base 1 is usually the smaller of the two bases. Base 2 is usually the longer of the two, but they can go hand in hand. What you do is you add those together, multiply by the height, which remember you're always going to see the 90 degrees with the height, and then multiply by 1/2. So base 1 is the first base. Base 2 is your second base. And H, once again, is your height. And you have to make sure to be perpendicular. All right, so looking at this example, so I said base 1 is usually the smaller base, so 9 is smaller, base 2 is 13. And they're always the parallel ones with the 90 degrees, because the 90 degrees makes our height. So our area is 1/2 times the height times base 1 plus base 2. So 1/2 times 3 times 9 plus 13. So the first thing I'm going to do is the 9 plus 13. So 9 plus 13 is 22. So this is 1/2 times 3 times 22. So 0.5 times 3 times 22 is going to give me the answer of 33. So my area is 33 inches squared. This one is strange. So this one's actually on its side. So I wish I actually could pick it up and turn it, but my bases and my height always make the 90 degrees. So my base 1 is going to be the smaller one here of 20. Base 2 is 30. You're not going to use the 19 because you see how you kind of make a C there? This is your height. So 16 is your height measurement. All right, so that's your height. So my area is 1/2 times my height times base 1 plus base 2. So 1/2 times 16 and then 20 plus 30. So the first thing I'm going to do is the 20 plus 30 part right here. So 20 plus 30 is 50. And I'm going to multiply that by 16 and then multiply that by 1/2. So 0.5 times 16 times 50 gives me 400. So my area is 400 feet squared. All right, last problem here. So they told me that the value of x is 10 meters. So I can fill that in. This is 10 meters. And then notice how I've got the 90 degrees here, so that tells me that's my height, and here are my two bases. You can see it kind of makes that C shape. So 10 is my bigger base, so I'll call that base 2. Base 1 is 8. My height is 6. So area equals 1/2 times my height of 6 times my bases added together, so 10 plus 8. 10 plus 8 is 18. Multiply that by 6. Multiply that by 1/2. 0.5 times 6 times 18 gives me 54. So 54 meters squared. Okay, your IXL is going to be on trapezoids and triangles. So I can scoot through and show you what that would look like. So it's going to be on triangles and trapezoids. So your triangles is area is 1/2 base times height, and your trapezoid formula of area is equal to 1/2 times height times the sum of the bases. Okay, I'll see you guys all in the live chat in just a few moments.